Hi and welcome everyone to Season 5 of the Ruin Hammer Live Show, where we talk all things One New Zealand Warriors. Thank you all for joining us. Tonight we're going to discuss the Warriors Round 15 loss to the Storm at Go Media Stadium, take a quick look at the other Round 15 results, and then preview this week's Round 16 game against the Titans on the Gold Coast, a game that we will be at. Joining me tonight, as usual, is my good mate and co-host Warrior Roo. Rob, how are you, mate? How's your week been?
Mate, the week's been good. Yeah, pretty good, thanks. Yeah, good to see you, and thanks to everyone who's watching on Facebook and YouTube. Always great to have you with us. Yeah, it's been a pretty busy week. It's gone by quick because I'm absolutely fizzing for this weekend on the Gold Coast. If you're a Warriors fan in Southeast Queensland and you haven't been to Warriors Titans game, then you're definitely missing out. It's not too late. You can join in the fun this week, but. Yeah, mate, just it sort of feels like a big build-up after the letdown of last Saturday night. Feels like a bit of a build-up to this weekend. So, yeah, pretty excited. How about yourself? How's your week been?
Week's been pretty standard, mate. Now that after a couple of weeks of travelling overseas, over to New Zealand, kind of got back into the groove of work again, which has been good. But yeah, off tomorrow, of course, because I'm actually leaving to come up the Gold Coast after we do the podcast tonight. But yeah, as you said, mate, it's always a great game to go to. It's a great atmosphere at Gold Coast Stadium. There's always some great Warriors supporters there, and of course, last year we had that wonderful pre-game and post-game members functions at the game, and this year we're doing that again. We've got a pre-game function which we'll talk about a little bit later in the show. And then the post-game function with the Warriors after the game. So, yeah, it's very exciting. I just think back to the last game we were at with how exciting that was at Mount Smart against the Dolphins. So hopefully we can, hopefully we can have another good result while we're up there. But yeah, really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it, mate. But we'll get into tonight's show. Before we do get into it, I invite everyone, if you haven't already done so, to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and or our Facebook page to show your support of the streaming content we do create. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank our wonderful supporters and subscribers on all social media platforms, but in particular, our generous Patreon subscribers whose donations and support enables us to continue to bring everyone the content and the guests we all enjoy so much. And just a reminder to everyone that has tuned in tonight, the reason we do the show live is to get the involvement of you guys watching. So please, as we move through our discussion points, join the conversation, leave your comments. But please be aware we do have current and ex-players and their families that watch this webcast. So try to keep your comments respectful and refrain from making them personal or derogatory in nature. Mate, on to the game review, yeah?
Yeah, we may as well get this done. Again, it's another one where we'll just rip the Band-Aid off and get stuck straight into it. Obviously, very disappointing last Saturday night. But Warriors returned home to face the Melbourne Storm, a team that we have not tasted victory against since 2015. That still hurts to say that, and that is still the case. A little bit more about that later. But the Warriors were looking to continue their recent mid-season purple patch of form and extend the recent 3-game winning streak. However, as we know, it was the Storm who extended the current longest winning streak in the NRL to 16 games. So that's equaled the record. So one more, and we'll be standalone bunnies, dead set bunnies for the Melbourne Storm. The Warriors went into the contest 1-17. The only change was Dylan Walker, who came in at 13, and Captain Tohu Harris moved back to the bench for the second week in a row. And star halfback Sean Johnson, he returned from injury. And Roger Tuivasa-Sheck was named as 18th man. And it was Warriors 24, Montoya with a double, Pompey and Barnett tries, Pompey 3 from 4, Harris Tavita 1 from 1, Storm 38, Fa'alogo, he had a double, Katoa, Anderson, Iramia, Meany, Coates tries, Meany 5 from 7. Mate, we could not have asked for a better start. I don't think the Storm touched the ball for about the first 5 minutes. And it was one of those situations where we were camped on their line, and we go, here we go again. We've seen this movie before where we struggled to put points on. Luckily, this time we did somewhat make the most of it, if that makes any sense. And we got out to that 14-0 lead, so we got a try through Pompey, and then that fantastic pass from Chance out to Hectic Montoya out in the corner, 14-0. And you're thinking this is a pretty good lead. And it was almost like, I think I described to you boys, it was like in Street Fighter, how the Melbourne Storm were there like all dizzy. And I think we just needed to hit one more blow. I think if we'd gotten out to 20-0 or even 26-0, I think that game was as good as over. However, due to, I'm going to call it some bad luck, the Melbourne Storm got straight into the game. I mean, Pompey taking that bomb and then brilliantly and then having it stripped one-on-one. I mean, there's really not that much you can do about that. But again, it was the Storm's first opportunity after about 20 minutes down the other end, and they got a try. And you could see what that did for their confidence. You could see their body language when they were all talking after that try. They'd be saying, hey, boys, they've been hammering us for this first 15, 20 minutes, and we got one chance and we scored. And then they went down there again, and the second opportunity they scored, and then it just sort of all unfolded, and they scored those 4 unanswered tries before halftime, 20 points to 14. And you kind of felt that had knocked the stuffing out of us a little bit. Yep. That would have really, let the air out of the balloon. But we did come out strong in that second half. But a couple of ordinary moments from our wingers and 2 sin bins. And they scored immediately after both sin bins. And then the game was done. I mean, playing with 11 men against Melbourne Storm, who I don't want to get into the refereeing too much, but they did receive, in my opinion, quite a few leg ups and benefited from quite a few sort of 50-50 calls. And they're a quality side. And you, as we say every week, you can't afford to give any team a sniff, but especially not the Melbourne Storm. We gave them like a hint of a sniff, and they were right back, and then they were up 2014 before we knew it. And I think it's a pretty important lesson for the boys, and kind of shows, while we did compete with them for the majority of the game, and I feel like the final score of 38-24 was not really a full reflection of the closeness of the game. I mean, when they had to, they scored and they iced all their opportunities. And again, just a bit of a lesson, I think, for our boys coming up against one of the premier teams in the competition. And they're not on top of the table for no reason. And I think they showed that.
Yeah, true.
Your thoughts?
My thoughts. My thoughts. Like everything you said, mate, it was a great start for us. We got that early penalty, a set restart, and then a Storm error in possession, which is very uncharacteristic, and then another set restart, and all that sustained pressure and that good attacking shape saw Adam Pompey crossing for the Warriors' first try of the match. I thought our middle forwards were great in that early period of the game too. They had some great energy, really good leg drive to get big meters on those early carries, and we really punished the Storm with speed through the ruck. We got that penalty goal for that Eli Katoa penalty on TMM, where he took him out after he'd kicked, and that just looked lazy. That was just a really lazy penalty from them. But yeah, really dominant start. Melbourne didn't complete a set until the 14th minute. They turned the ball over on tackle 1 a couple of times, which gifted the Warriors some really great field position and possession. And it was almost like the Cowboys game the week before, where the Cowboys kept making errors. The Warriors capitalised on that. We had those 2 successful captain's challenges, which kept the pressure on the Storm too. And those 2 captain's challenges were probably the most worrying thing in those first 15 minutes, because they were decisions that shouldn't have gone against the Warriors in the first place. Like one was Sean Johnson, facing backwards towards his own line, and they called that a knock on. We challenged that, and that was overturned. And then there was the one where Dallin goes up for a clean contest with Fa'alonga, I think it was, and yeah, that was deemed, we were penalised for that, but that was deemed that there was no taking out of the player.
It was a weird one.
It was, and it worried me because, as you said, you don't like to ref bash, but that referee, Bernard Sutton, is renowned for giving the Warriors a raw end of the stick when it comes to close 50-50 calls. So that kind of got a little bit worrying for me. And even to the point when the Storm did get their first try, it was former Warrior Eli Katoa stripping the ball from Adam Pompey.
Let him go.
Pompey had done everything right there. He'd taken the ball, and the last thing he expected was to get stripped. But like when you slow it down, Katoa is touching, Pompey's in the air and Katoa's body is touching his legs. So in the field of play, that's a penalty. You know, like in the course of a game, if you touch, as soon as you touch a guy in the air, any part of your body touches his body while he's in the air, that's a penalty. So I don't see why that wasn't given a penalty, because Katoa's shoulders were touching Pompey's legs before he even went for that strip. So, like again, I don't want to ref bash, but it was just little things like that that were decisions that went against us that kind of, as you said, set the tone for what was going to come. And then, as you said, once they got that one try, they got four and blew out to a lead.
In no time. In no time at all. Yeah.
Yeah. And we even said with the amount of possession we had, I know it's a Storm, but with the amount of possession we had, we should have had 20 or 26 on the board. Because, that 14 just wasn't enough. And that 14 nil deficit was turned into a 20 to 14 lead. And it was really worrying signs that we leaked those four tries. We needed to be first to score in the second half if we were any chance of winning. And we had a missed opportunity early from Murata Niokore, who I thought was outstanding in this game. And then we did get a try via Mitch Barnett, which was just an effort run in that 48th minute to get over the line. And then there was an error from Melbourne. It looked like Jazz had scored where he played to the ref's whistle, but it was deemed a double knock on. And then the ref
went back 3 plays.
3 plays, to penalise Tamari Martin for a high shot.
Yeah, it's not our fault that he missed that to begin with. That's what's ridiculous about it.
It was literally 3 minutes after that high shot on Wade Egan, which was deemed okay.
Yeah,
even though it split his lip
coming out of his mouth. Yeah,
like, and that's what I mean. It's just like not ref bashing, but he was fucking atrocious. So, and then, Montoya gets 10 in the bin. Melbourne scored directly after that. DWZ gets 10 in the bin. And without the ball, that reduced us to 11 men. Melbourne scored extended pretty much after that. And that took it to about 30 to 18, I think.
Yes.
We did well to only allow 2 tries during those sin binning periods where it was basically 5 minutes of 12 players, then we had 10 minutes of 11 players back to 5 minutes of 12 players for those that sin bin period. We did really well to only let in 2 tries.
But they both came immediately after it. That was the thing. Like it's almost like the second, like the very first set after going down to man. Yeah, we conceded the try, which was really costly.
Yeah. But it was just another game where we missed opportunities and had an inability to go for the jugular when we have teams on the rack. I don't know. It was, as I said, it was an identical start to the Cowboys. The difference probably in that game was that the Cowboys continued to make errors throughout the whole 80-minute contest, whereas once the Storm found their feet, they were very hard to beat. As you said, they're not leading the comp for nothing. They're
way under strength as well. Like they're missing a lot of key players, so you got to think about that too.
Yeah, they are. No Munster, no Pappenhausen. Who are 2 keys to their spine and to their attacking stuff. So but I mean, if you could look at the stats of that game. And we won all the attacking stats in that game. We had 54% possession. We had 200 run meters more than the Storm did. We had 150 more post contact meters. We had 22 more tackle breaks. We averaged more in our with our overall set distance. We had more offloads, 11 to 6. Our kick return meters were a lot more. We made them. They had to make more tackles than us. They had 45 missed tackles to our 26. We led all the stats in that game except the one stat that mattered most, which was the scoreboard. It was really tough. What are your thoughts around our forwards, mate? I thought Jackson Ford again was quite good and quite strong in playing in the middle, moving from that edge. Your thoughts on Jacko? Because I know you're a bit of a fan of his.
Yeah, it's really agreeing with him, that move into the middle. And can see him playing there for the rest of the year, to be honest.
Yep.
Yeah, 66 minutes, 156 meters, 65 post contact, 3 tackle breaks. But you can just get that whole obstruction thing out of his game, mate. He's going to be extremely valuable. Yeah, like he's got a lot of desire. Probably not the most naturally gifted player in the team, but he's all heart and desire. So.
Absolutely.
The go forward was excellent. AFB again, 152 meters, 71 post contact, 4 tackle breaks, 2 offloads, 18 tackles. Dylan Walker had continued his great form, starting the game, 126 meters, 52 post contact, 4 tackle breaks. Jazz in only 33 minutes, he made 81 meters, 23 post contact, and Tohu coming off the bench in 44 minutes, 103 meters. 38 post contact, 1 tackle break, 32 tackles. I still feel like he passes the ball a little bit too much though. We seem to have a lot of ball players out there. If you've got Walker out there, Tohu, and then the halves, I don't know. Is it a case too many cooks spoiling the broth or what?
Yeah, I don't know. I think there was a period earlier in the year where our tip-on plays and that short passing game between our middle forwards worked really, really well. But when we were doing that, we'd have Harris passing or tipping on to a guy like Mitch Barnett in the middle, and now it's Harris tipping onto like Jazz Tavanga or Dylan Walker, who aren't big meter eaters like Mitch Barnett. I thought Dylan Walker was one of our best again. You touched on him. He ended up playing 71 minutes of this game. Fortunately for us, we have a guy like Dylan Walker that we do carry on our bench or in our 17. And when you get an injury to an outside back like we did with Rocco Berry, Walker's able to slot into that role, into that position. He was a centre at the Rabbitohs. He won a comp in 2014 at the Rabbitohs. He played for Australia in the centres. So he's a great player to have on the bench that we can utilise in that area. I thought probably one of the biggest, I won't say letdowns. Letdowns is a hard word. Probably and disappointments is another hard word. But the Storm really nullified our back three, and that's one of the things that is really strong with the Warriors is our set starts from our back three, CNK, DWZ, and Montoya have been great all year. But when you've got a guy like Dallin and another guy like Montoya who regularly get over 100 metres, not cracking 100 metres. Dallin only had 76 run metres, Montoya only 85. And yes, I know they both spent 10 minutes in the bin. But, we're talking about guys that are usually up around 160, 170 metres. CNK, 166 metres, which, yes, was good when you look at the stats. He's a guy that's normally up over 200 run metres. So they really nullified not just our kick return, but our set starts, where we weren't able to get a lot of emphasis and impetus from the start. Maybe I'm looking too much into it because we had that so much good ball in that opening 14 minutes that we didn't need those guys to make those big meters early on. So that might have nullified or taken away from their meter gains. But, for me, that was something that really stood out. What you should do, boys, you have a spot in your show where you go through everyone's comments.
I was just about to say, mate, Andrew had asked the question, so I'll address it now, Andrew. Was it the COVID situation why Katoa left us because he's a bad loss? So, yeah, we're talking about standout players. Obviously, he was a standout player for the Storm, of course, and he's been very good the last couple of years. We all knew going down to Melbourne in the Craig Bellamy system, he was going to thrive, and he's done exactly that. He was released after season 2022. Probably wasn't his best year at the club. 21, and he had a brilliant year when he first came into first grade in 2020, the first COVID year, and he was fantastic. And he scored a lot of tries. He was an imposing presence out there. And 21 and 22, he sort of went off the boil a little bit. And I think from memory, Brownie tried to turn him into like a middle forward, didn't he, instead of an edge forward?
They played him a lot in the middle. They brought him off the bench, played him in the middle, but he had that toe injury that never really healed properly during 2021. So he was kind of in and out of the team. Showed the kind of impact he can have. But and then 2022, same kind of thing. And I think he just got he wasn't getting a lot of
fell
game
out of
time.
favour a bit. Yeah.
And as you said, a lot of that was because he was being used in the middle, and he's not a middle forward. And this is something that the Warriors
weapon out on the edge. Like in 2020, he was such an asset on our edge. Yeah,
that's right.
Him and Cody Nikorima had a good combo. Yeah,
we likened it, didn't we, at that stage to what the Warriors did with Isaiah Papali'i. When he came into the scene in the Warriors system, he was an edge back rower, and then for some reason they tried to turn him into a middle forward, and it just didn't work out. He left, went to Parramatta, moved back to an edge, and became a world beater.
I think with Katoa, they more or less said to him, like, we're pretty flushed with forwards. We've got a lot of forwards on our books at the moment, or sort of second rowers. And I think we did back then. We had all those other guys. We had like Murchie, Ben Murdoch, Masilla, and all these guys. And I think they probably said to him, if you can get a deal elsewhere, we won't stand in your way. And Craig Bellamy came knocking. The rest is history. But as you can't keep everyone, and it's not unusual for ex-players to play well against their former club, especially him returning to New Zealand, probably for the first time since leaving the Warriors. So he was always going to have a big game. But it was a bad loss. But you probably don't really know where you fit him into this team at the moment. That's right. He was one of the rare Warriors too, where and we spoke about this at the time back in 2021, 22, that we had a lot of guys that were Warriors players that had never actually played in front of their family and friends at Mount Smart because of the COVID period. So that was probably one of the rare opportunities he actually got to play in front of his family and friends too, was this game against the Warriors. So, it was always going to be one where he lifted, wasn't it? Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Steve Maddai thing.
Yeah. Tell them the story for those that want to know, for those that don't know the Steve Maddai reference we always make. Tell them the story, Rob.
I think on about no less than 4 separate occasions we'd all but signed Steve Maddai. He'd been over to New Zealand. He'd toured the facilities and was just about to put pen to paper, or apparently really close to signing, and always never eventuated. And like a week later, he would re-sign with Manly, and then everyone soon realised he was just using it as an opportunity to go home and get a free trip to visit his friends and family. Goes ducks out to Mount Smart for an hour and tours the facilities. He goes, it looks good, boys. Goes and sees mum and dad and the cousins and everything. Goes back and re-signs with Manly. So. But he always used to have his biggest game of the year against the Warriors, always without fail in New Zealand. True. And apparently he used to get like 60 tickets or something for all his extended family. So, it's just, classic Steve Maddai stuff.
If anyone thinks we're joking, at the time of his last visit to the Warriors, which I think it was 2019, I think, or something like that.
2014, I think.
My mate Dave Perry was the CEO at Manly at the time. Dave Perry and I went to school with each other, and I messaged Dave and said, "Oh, it looks like we've got Steve Maddai," and he laughed at me. He said, "I've got a signed contract in my top drawer at Manly." He was over at the Warriors touring their facilities, come back, and it was announced he'd signed at Manly. So he
every single time he did it.
Yeah, absolutely. Back to this game, mate. Our edges, Mitch Barnett on an edge and Murata Niokore on the other edge. Both guys absolutely outstanding. Mitch Barnett played the full 80 minutes.
2 of the best players on our team, Yep,
145 metres for Barney, 57 post contact, 7 tackle breaks, a line break, an offload, 25 tackles, and a try. And then Niokore, his game stats never look that impressive. He had 88 run metres, 47 post contact, 4 tackle breaks, 21 tackles. He got over the line twice, but was denied twice. But it was the effort that he put in, like 88 run meters and 47 of them, over half of his run meters were post contact. That was the damage that he was doing at the Storm line. Really he looked the most likely to score. And as I said, got over the line twice and was held up. And Capewell only playing the 24 minutes.
Yeah.
firstly, what are your thoughts about how we've used him the past 2 weeks, and were you surprised to see him get a call up for Origin?
Oh, well, I'll answer the second question first. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, it's all part of that whole Queensland loyalty thing, or picking players that you know can do a job.
Yeah.
Queensland have always done that sort of thing, like picking guys out of reserve grade, guys that are out of form. I think Billy just wanted a bit of versatility on the bench. And Cobbo, there's a little bit of a interesting story around Cobbo, isn't there? They said, "Oh no, he's injured." Was the official line? So
Darren Lockyer
bench.
came out. Darren Lockyer came out today and said there's a bit of mental health stuff around him, and that's why he wasn't picked this time around. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it was a masterstroke having him on the bench last game because he came straight on for Walsh. I guess Capewell, I tend to think his days of playing big minutes in the centres are probably behind him. He's getting on a little bit. So, yeah, definitely surprised and a little bit annoyed because I would rather have him play for us on Saturday night than play for Queensland. But anyway, like he didn't feature too much in this game. I mean, the whole sort of vibe around Capel is that he's like the 1%ers kind of guy.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't know. I think at the moment, we probably need a little bit more out of him. But yeah, he was coming off the bench. Yeah, 24 minutes. So yeah, he's been. I won't say he's been disappointing, and he has been injured. Like I remember that game against the Dragons. You said the whole game he had like
he had a trainer with him in that whole second half. With him.
Yeah. So he hasn't been right his whole stint. So I won't say he's been disappointing, but he hasn't spent a lot of time on the field. Yeah, I guess is what it is, and so that's why it's probably a surprise to see him get called up for Queensland.
I'm more disappointed in the Mitch Barnett selection for New South Wales, and the reason is at least Capel's in the 17, so he's going to be playing, but Barnett as 18th man, no chance, no assurity that he's going to be playing for New South Wales. He might wear that blue vest and be part of that thing, but we end up losing him for this game. That's where I'm dirty. If he had been picked
because he's part of the game day squad.
Yeah, that's right.
Technically, 18th man is considered a playing role, if you like.
Yes. Yeah. He may get to play. Liam Martin, I think it is under a bit of an injury cloud. Hasn't trained, so I'm hoping that injury extends into next week and Barney gets his Blues debut because
if he's not going to play, you'd rather him. If he's not going to play for us, you'd rather him make his Origin debut for sure.
Yeah,
no one to be in vain. Yeah.
Yeah. Ruben Allen Newman says, I'll say it, Capel has been disappointing. I'd rather have Tuapiki on the bench to inject some speed late in the game. We agree.
Yeah.
We agree. We're Tuapiki fans. We think he's been outstanding. Speaking of smaller bodied people, our halves, mate, on the weekend. I'll get your thoughts on it because for me, I know Webby came out before the game and said, Sean's doesn't want to rock the apple cart. He doesn't want to change things that have been successful over the past 3 wins. Sean just wants to come out. He wants to play a role and he'll let Tamati Martin do his thing. And it was almost as if both the halves didn't want to step on the other one's toes. So they kind of both took a back seat and no one really took control of this game. Is that how you saw it?
Oh, absolutely. Tentative, I think, is the key word to describe Sean's performance. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong, but it just seemed like there was a bit of confusion out there. And I think maybe Sean's kind of overcorrected his role in the side. It didn't really work. They didn't really click. And you're just sort of starting to wonder what is the key halves combination for us. I mean, these two guys are both fantastic players in their own right. But is there a bit of a lack of chemistry there between them? Is it a concern? I think it's we haven't played our best, to be honest, when we've had those two guys in our halves. We looked really good the last 3 weeks with like kind of makeshift pairings, but with Tamati Martin being the key primary playmaker. So it's hard one.
I think it's very hard for anyone that comes into our halves to partner Sean and then have a mindset that they're going to be the dominant half and not Sean.
Yeah.
That could be something very hard for some of these guys to get their head around, regardless how experienced they are or not. And as you said, we've had some makeshift half pairings in the last couple of weeks, and Tamari Martin has been outstanding leading the team around the park. Chanel Harris-Tavita playing that supporting role, or Chance when he moved to 6, just, being a bit of a running 6 and allowing Tamari to run the team around. But once Sean comes back into it, it's probably hard for these guys to think, okay, I'm going to be the dominant half and I'll let Sean just float in and out of the game. It's and that's where I was a little bit confused as to what Webby was saying, because Sean's our dominant half, so just let him be our dominant half.
Yep.
He, as you said, he was. It was very strange, because Sean didn't have any try assists in this game. His kick meters were down. He did run the ball once at one stage. There,
but he didn't look confident. Like he was all kind of tentative.
Yes,
and he had that error right before halftime. It's like, there was just something up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they get to do it again this week, those two. So hopefully they've worked that out at training, and we can see a better turnaround for both of these guys coming into this game. Mate,
let's go, boys.
Yeah, let's go, boys. How bloody good. We talk about Jacko Ford. Jacko Ford has been outstanding at 10. It's good to see that we've got. I mean, we were all worried about what was going to happen next year with AFB leaving, and then we've got Fisher Harris coming as a replacement. But and we all thought that it'd be Fisher Harris and Barnett that'd play in the middle, but Barney moving to an edge has been outstanding too.
It's been a really good
swap.
Move.
Yeah, it has, because he was a great edge back row when he was at Newcastle too. He used to tear us apart when he was at Newcastle.
He did. He always did. Yeah, that's right,
mate. Yeah, and he was a goal kicker too. A lot of people don't remember that.
That's right. Remember him slotting from the sideline at Central Coast Stadium with one of the best sunsets you've ever seen in the background. I remember that.
Yeah, that was a great photo. It wasn't a great result, but it was a great photo.
It wasn't.
No. Mate, your Ruin Hammer player of the match, 321.2. Did you give him 2 this week?
Oh, mate, 3 points went to Mitch Barnett. Mate, he's having an absolutely watershed season. Fantastic. Mate, he's going to be hard to beat for Warriors Player of the Year this year, I think. Not just the Dean Bell medal, but Warriors Player of the Year. He got my 3. Murata Niokore, I thought he was fantastic in. Again, you said the stats don't really tell the story, but he had big impact close to the line with his offense and his defense. He's a hard hitter, so he got my 2 points. I thought Chance had a very good game at the back. Our wingers did not have great games, but Chance was very busy. A lot of meters, clean up work. He was just his usual self. So, Barney, Niokore, and CNK, my 3-2-1. Yourself?
I went the same with my 3, mate. I thought Mitch Barnett, absolutely outstanding, a standout in this game. Really looked dangerous. His origin selection is so warranted. One of the most consistent and most improved players in season 2024. Again, I echoed your thoughts. I thought Murata Niokore was absolutely outstanding. We have both said that the stats that you read don't give the indication of what he actually did in the game. He looked the most likely for me. Really punching holes in that Storm defence, and his defence too was rock solid. And I'll go 1 point to Dylan Walker. I think, Dylan Walker's been outstanding. I remember when we signed him, we said he was going to be that number 14 super sub, and he's had, he's just continued on his good form from last season into this season. He's a real leader. We spoke to him at length after that Dolphins game, talking about, his role within the team. He's absolutely loving what he's doing now, playing in the middle, comes on and does. He takes a little bit of the pressure off Sean and Tamati and whoever else is playing in the halves, because he does play a little bit of first receiver. and then moving to the centres, played some big minutes. So I gave Dylan my 1 point, which meant that we gave the full complement of 6 to Mitch Barnett, 4 to Niokore, 1 each to Walker and CNK, which means a couple of weeks ago, it looked like it was a one-horse race with Adam Fanua-Blake out the front. But Mitch Barnett is pulling that back now. Adam's on 36, Mitch Barnett on 25. Chance moves up into third place on 13, and then a host of others on 12s, 11s, and 10s, rounding out our Dean Bell medals for 2024. Speaking of the Storm, mate, you've got some stuff that you need to get off your chest, I think, regarding the Storm. Why don't you hit us with it, mate?
Oh, mate, this is just a bit of a personal gripe that I have. So this is still my opinion. So don't come at me with stuff. But one of the things that got me on watching the game on Saturday night was when the Storm ran out. They had all their old boys there, and I'm like, hang on, what's this all about? This is a Warriors home game. Yet they had all. I get that they have guys like Tawira Nikau live over there. Oh, Steve Kearney was there.
Yeah.
Adam Blair and Albert Vete were in the Guard of Honor as the Storm ran out. And I'm like, hang on, whose home game is this? They'd hijacked our home game with their old boys' day, which I didn't quite understand. Although thinking back, it has been 25 years since their first premiership in 1999. So I get that they want to celebrate that. But why are they doing it at our home game in New Zealand? So I saw our good mate, Tony Martin, Warrior 109.
Yep.
And I asked him what was going on there, and he said it was basically the end of Old Boys Week. So I'm not sure if they did something the week before for their own home game at against the Knights. I'm assuming they must have, because I don't know why they would be allowed to do their Old Boys Day at an away game, or why they would even want to do that. I do understand that there was the Michael Moore tragedy, and that happened in 2000. And every year we basically give the Storm the Michael Moore Trophy because we haven't won it in like almost a decade. But yes. Yeah, there was that tragic event that did occur in 2000 down the Viaduct, I think. Michael Moore, was he a team manager or something at the Storm?
Yes, he was, yeah. And it was before the season opener in 2000 that he passed away.
It was. I remember Ivan Cleary talking about it because that was his Warriors debut as well.
Yes.
That first game. So I understand that there is a bit of history there. So I'm guessing that they tied in the 25 years of the premiership, and then also tied in the. But I don't know if anyone else finds that weird. But why would they do a big celebration at someone else, a game in New Zealand? Yeah, I just found that really weird. And then you throw in everything else with the Storm. You've got the dirty tactics. You got Jerome Hughes. You've got Munster. You've got Harry Grant. They're always up to something there. Like Jerome Hughes again, absolute pest. Always carves us up as he would because he's a Kiwi playing against a Kiwi team. Has to prove he's the bigger dick. So he's always going to be like that. Absolutely milking a penalty against us with that dive after the kick. And there's the constant cheating. Like Melbourne Storm invented all that crap that's in our game that they're trying to outlaw. The chicken wing, the crusher tackle, all those wrestling moves that they introduced into the game that they had to turn around and outlaw. Then you got the salary cap breaches, cheating their way to like 3 premierships. Then you got Cooper Cronk sitting there on NRL 360. Everyone should just back off the Melbourne Storm. And then you've got and then they come from a place where no one gives a rat's about league. They're from Melbourne. They've won how many premierships? Or we'll say they've won 3 legitimate premierships. I think maybe 6 illegitimate ones, but still no one in Melbourne cares about them. So, and then all that to say, I'm just friggin' sick of losing to these guys.
Yeah. Don't hold back, mate. Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, very nice.
Okay. I got that out of my system. All right, so we're going to move on to the other games off round 15. That
Yeah.
started on Thursday night, and that was the Sharks versus Dolphins at PointsBet Stadium. Dolphins 30 over the Sharks 28. Mate, the Dolphins are one of those funny teams where you're like, they're not going that well, and you're just waiting them to fall over, but they just keep getting these wins. It's bizarre how they keep doing it. They're interesting game. They got out to a 22-0 lead, and the Sharks came roaring back into it, and then the Hammer scored probably an early contender or mid-season contender for the try of the season. And then they held on that fast finishing Storm. Nico Hines with probably one of the worst attempts at a game winner from the sideline you've ever seen. So entertaining game, but yeah, the Dolphins, they just keep on chugging along, don't they?
They do. They're kind of, if you look at them, like they're sitting up there in the top four. They just keep winning games against the odds, but we keep saying they haven't really played any of those real top teams. The Sharks were the first, I guess you could say, top four team that played. And then, they got out to that 22-0 lead. The Sharks then come back 24-22, and then, the Hammer. But, interestingly enough, that was the Dolphins' first win in Sydney since they've entered the competition. I know they've only been in for a year and a half, but, it's their first win in Sydney. They had never won a game in Sydney, so that was their first. The Sharkies now with 4 losses in their past 5 games. They're a team under immense pressure now too, and they were kind of at full strength too, and that was an interesting one. But we'll see. I think we'll get the real medal of the Dolphins over the next couple of weeks because they've got the Storm, the Panthers, and the Roosters coming up over their next few games. Albeit this week, it's a Storm team without some of their Origin stars. But we'll see how they go. But good win by the Dolphins.
Yeah, it was indeed. First game on Friday night, Raiders versus the Cowboys at GIO Stadium. It was the Cowboys with somewhat of a surprise result, I think, 34-16 over the Raiders. Again, they got out to a 22-0 lead, and the Raiders just did not look in it. They're such a hard team to get a read on. Both of these teams, actually. Really hard to get a read on how they're actually traveling at the moment. The Cowboys, after getting spanked by us last week, came out and did the same thing to the Raiders. What were your thoughts on that game?
That was weird. Huge turnaround for the Cowboys from last week's effort, especially down in Canberra. They led 26-0 at the 50th minute and really outplayed the Raiders. Both teams now caught up in that logjam from 5th to 12th of all those teams kind of separated by a point or two. It's not a true Raiders loss too, mate, without a blowout from Ricky. He was teeing off on the refs after this one.
What about his comments after the game? About players getting penalised, but they were only a little bit offside.
A little bit offside. I know. What an idiot. What an absolute idiot. So that's always a good one. Before we move on to the next game, mate, I just got to acknowledge Ken in the chat there. He said, I'd love the Hammer to try to get try of the season, just so we don't have to watch that coach try again. Fuck.
Agreed.
Didn't they give that a play on the weekend too? Jesus Christ.
Cooper Cronk might have mentioned that it was an absolutely fantastic finish in round 2.
Malman Inga mentioned it about 4 times. It's just shut up.
It's like they had no other material except to just bang on about that try. If in doubt, just bang on about it.
Yep.
Okay. So the second game Friday night, the Rabbitohs versus the Broncos at the Core Stadium. Rabbitohs 22-12 over the Broncos, and another game where it was 22-0. It was 22-0 for a big chunk of this match. Actually, the Broncos had a couple of Dean Mariner tries late in the piece. Latrell Mitchell, the superstar himself, back into form just in the nick of time to cruise into that New South Wales team. He did have a very good game. And it must be said, Cobbo had one of the worst games I think I've seen him play in first grade as well. So, there wasn't great conditions. It was raining and, but the Rabbitohs were always in control of this one.
Yeah, they seem to have turned a corner, haven't they, the Rabbits? They've won their 3rd win in the past 3 games. I know a couple of Rabbitohs supporters who are going off now. A mate of mine, he put, was it $20 on the Rabbitohs to make the 8? That was paying $36 3 weeks ago. They're now at $8 to make the 8, so that was a good one. As you said, mate, they led 22-0. the Broncos team. That's what 3 losses in their past 3 games now.
He's struggling for sure.
Yeah,
Poor
and
buggers.
well, they didn't have the superstar Reece Walsh, but the Rabbitohs did
Ah.
have a proud Indigenous man in Latrell Mitchell, who's found some confidence and form, which, as you said, has found him into the Origin arena. So good luck to him. But yeah, mate, just on the Rabbits, what's your thoughts on Damien Cook? It's announced that the Rabbits have allowed him to get out of the last year of his contract. He's heading back home to St George Illawarra Dragons, where his career first started, which signed a 2-year deal. Obviously, we know why he went there. It's closer to the beach, and there is a rumor
the sand
that he
dunes
once
of
was.
Wollongong.
Yeah, he was a beach sprinter at one stage, apparently. Yeah, but what's your thoughts on Cookie going there? Because they're saying that the Rabbits will only have to fork out about $50,000 of his contract for him to go down to the Dragons. So interesting one with Wayne Bennett coming in as coach. Wayne Bennett doesn't lose players that he wants to get. So a lot of talk at the moment that Cookie's gone down there, found out he wasn't part of Bennett's plans as an aging 32-year-old. And from all reports, they're saying Bennett's now chasing the cheese from the Roosters.
Imagine
which
that.
is not,
I can see that happening.
Yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibility, because the cheese was linked to the Dolphins before he linking up with Wayne Bennett before he did sign that deal with the Roosters. So, yeah, your thoughts on Cookie going to the Dragons, mate?
Still a handy player. When you're talking about signing of hookers, well, I think they were trying to get Jerry. There was rumours that Jeremy Marshall King might follow Bennett down to the Rabbitohs. He has since re-signed with the Dolphins.
Yep.
So good to see that there isn't like a mass exodus of players, but still a handy player. And like I said, there's probably better beaches down in Wollongong than there is at Redfern. So he'll be like a duck to water.
Yeah, absolutely, he will be.
Guys, this next game, mate, the Super Saturday, what a way to kick it off. The Tigers versus the Titans. I think most people want that 80 minutes of their lives back, but it was the Tigers in front of a parochial bumper Leichhardt crowd, which was really good to see. I must say, I felt it was really great to see the crowd get behind the Tigers, and it spurred them on to an 18-10 victory over the Titans. The Titans looked quite good early, but the Tigers got the job done, 18 points to 10. Not the highest quality game that you'll ever see, but I think we've all got a bit of a soft spot for the Tigers, and it was good to see them get a win, just as long as it's not in the Mike Doreen Cup, hey?
Absolutely. I did fear for the Tigers. Playing at Leichhardt Oval, I have been to Leichhardt Oval on many occasions with my great mate Carlos and witnessed the Tigers defeat. And they don't celebrate the milestones very, very well. I was there the day that they celebrated Tommy Radonicus.
That's right.
They played the Cowboys and got absolutely towed up in that game. And this one here, they were honouring the great Keith Barnes, who passed away. And I thought, oh, this is not good. But they came out, put on a performance. Well, a performance for the Tigers, I guess you could say. It was a tough watch, I must admit. Appy Corus outstanding for the Tigers. Very surprised he didn't get that 14 jersey in the Blues, and they opted to go with Connor Watson. I really thought Uppy could offer. He's been there before, and he could offer a great point of difference. But it was also reported that the 17 that the Tigers trotted out, it was the youngest 17 in NRL history. And another 2 18-year-olds debuting for the Tigers. Benji's now debuted 9 players so far this season. The Titans, I don't know what to think about them. I just hope it's that Titans team that turns up this week at home against the Warriors. Just mistaken and error-riddled. Really hope it continues this week.
Yes, hopefully. We'll know it won't. They'll come in and play the game of their lives on Saturday, but that's the way it goes, I guess. Okay, the next game on the Super Saturday was Eels versus the Roosters at CommBank Stadium. The Roosters got away with a 28 points to 18 victory. The Eels were down 16-0. And I remember you actually commented, See the Roosters are up 16-0. They won't let this lead slip like we did. And the next time I checked, it was 18-16 to the Eels. However, the Roosters had a little bit too much class and got the job done late. Eels really struggling, and I don't know. Are we any closer to them getting a new coach?
I don't know, mate. As you said, I did say that about the Eels when they were leading 16-0, albeit courtesy of the Kelma Tuolungi sin binning.
Yes.
He's now copped. I think he copped a 5-week ban, but he's out for 8 weeks with an injury, so he hasn't really contested that. But then the Jared Warrior-Hargrave sin binning changed the momentum of that game. So the Eels did fight back, but they just didn't have enough to hold off the class of the Roosters. Apparently, after interviewing everyone, including Bert and Ernie from the Sesame Street for the Eels head coaching role.
Those two old blokes from the Muppets.
Yeah, it's now come down to it's either going to be Jason Riles or
Josh Hannay, I think I heard.
Josh Hannay, that's it. Yeah, they're the last two standing. I think they just interviewed Trent Barrett as a joke.
Honestly, if they had ended up with Trent Barrett as their head coach, has there been a dumber decision ever made in the history of a club?
Has there been
why not just keep Brad Arthur?
That's what I mean. Has there been a guy that's had 2 failed stints as a first grade coach get a 3rd gig anywhere? Has that ever happened? I can't recall it.
I think you get 2 shots and then that's it.
Yeah, there's been 2. There's been
Matt Elliott. Matt Elliott coached the Warriors after he left. Oh no, I don't think he got sacked from Canberra. I think he just moved to Penrith.
Yeah.
Okay. No. Okay. No,
Yeah.
I don't think so. You generally don't survive your second sacking.
No. Hook Griffins twice, Steve Kearney twice. They never went on to 3s.
Nathan Brown twice.
Yeah, that's right. Nathan Brown twice.
All our coaches. Hook coached the Broncos.
Did Nathan Brown get sacked at the Dragons though?
I don't know that. It's a tough one because I think they had Bennett lined up and they more or less said, "Oh, this is awkward," but Wayne Bennett wants the coach here, so I think he saw the writing on the wall
and went to England, didn't he?
Did Hook get sacked from the Broncos though? Did he get sacked or did he? I think he did because he's been sacked. Yeah, he's been sacked 3 times. Then he got sacked from the Broncos, Panthers, as Ken brought as mentioned in the comments. Broncos, Panthers, and Dragons.
Yeah.
He should never have been given another gig at the Dragons. Well, Mary McGregor will be another.
He got sacked at Penrith when they were running 4th and looking at semi-finals. Remember that?
That's right. That was controversial, wasn't it?
It was
to bring Cleary back, who had been sacked because they wanted to re-sign Nathan. That's right.
Yes.
That was bizarre.
Yeah. Speaking of teams that have had sack coaches, the next game, Seagulls versus Dragons.
So we got so Seagulls versus Dragons at 4 Pines Park. Lucky for Seebs, his Seagulls got up 30 points to 14. He's another one who's trying to negotiate a contract extension. The club said, "We'll just wait this one out." Trying to get heavily entrenched there at Manly, but I think they're playing it safe. But yeah, they were very good in this game. The Dragons made a contest off it, and they were in it in that second half. But the Eagles were down to no players on the bench. They were down to literally the players on the field. A very courageous victory from them. Yeah,
I don't know how they won that game with the fact that they'd lost all their players in the first half. They had no bench going into halftime. Just as another game that showcases the inconsistency of this 2024 season. It was an important win for Manly, pushing them into the 8. It's probably going to be the game that the Dragons will look back on as if they don't make the 8, as the one that really turned their season.
One that got away.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I don't know how they lost that game. That was a weird one. Anyway,
and and rounding out your round 15 was the Knights versus Panthers at McDonald Jones Stadium. Panthers 26-18 over Knights. Another sort of fairly close contest, but again, it was just class that won out. I think Dylan Edwards had an excellent game and cemented his return to that New South Wales team. Knights are a plucky side, and I think they have done well to win as many games as they have. But you kind of feel that there's a little bit of a gap in class between them and the other teams that they're sort of chasing for that spot in the 8.
Yeah. Not really a surprising result, was it? Panthers over the Knights. Yeah, as you said, they're a plucky side. They try hard. Can I tell you, I find it very hard to watch the Knights play. I just, no matter who they're playing, I just find the games very tedious to watch, and I don't know why. But yeah.
Yes. It's they're a little bit of a dour team, I suppose. They don't have a lot of superstars there. They play tough, but not. Yeah, it's not an attractive brand of football, I suppose.
No.
Anyway, we'll move on to the ladder, and as we can see here, the Storm are still in first position on 24 points. A 2-point gap over the Panthers in second. The Sharks have dropped to third, but they're both on 22 points. Dolphins remaining in fourth position on 20 points. But as we touched on, the next 3 or 4 weeks will probably make or break their season. Roosters moved up to fifth on 18. Bulldogs with a bye, 6 also on 18. And the Raiders, or the Grandpas, as my son Cody calls them, when he just sees their logo on the screen, the Grandpas. Because he always comes in and looks at the logos and sees who's playing. He goes, "Oh, the Grandpas are playing." So they're on 18 points. Manly with that win pushes them into the 8. It could have been us, but unfortunately it's Manly into the 8 on 17 points. And Broncos, that's a bit of a slide, isn't it? Falling out of the 8 completely on 16 points. And the Cowboys move up to 10th on 16. Dragons 11th on 16. We're at 12th on 15, but we start stringing a few wins together, then we should start moving up the table a fair bit. The Knights that we were just talking about on 13th on 14 points. Rabbitohs, 3 clear of the bottom of the table now on 12. And then you've got the Eels and the Tigers who get off the bottom of the table. Luckily for them, they're on 10 points, and I think they beat out the Titans on points differential, who we are playing this week, of course.
Seriously, with all the shit that the Tigers get put on them, and everyone talking about how poor the Rabbits have been, how is no one talking about the fact that the Eels are equal bottom of the table with that roster that they've got? It's just bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think the Eels, and as we talked about during the week, the Titans seem to avoid a fair bit of flack as well. Eels are a big club in Western Sydney. They always rate well because they're always on bloody TV. Yeah. So, it is an interesting one, and they haven't won a premiership since, 1986? So they've underachieved for a long period of time. But, they never seem to cop it as much as the Tigers. I think that's because they haven't won anywhere near as many wooden spoons. I think they got 1 or 2 in the last 20 years, I guess. But, yeah.
It's weird.
I don't know. It is weird. Yeah. Okay, so we are going to look at the next week's game, and that is against the Gold Coast Titans, as we mentioned, Cbus Super Stadium. And as we touched on before, it's a game that we are both going to be attending. Can't wait for it. As we said, it's one of the best games of the year if you're a Warriors fan in Australia, because it honestly feels like a home game. Always has done. Last year in particular, that was the best away atmosphere that I've ever experienced last year, just the roar of the crowd. So, mate, I think there's still tickets available. So if you're in Southeast Queensland and you're keen to go to the game, grab yourself a ticket. We'll talk about it a bit more later, but there is a pre-game function and a post-match function as well. So
there is.
Yeah. Just touching on the history between us and the Gold Coast Titans. So this will be the 34th game. We hold a 20 win to 13 advantage. I'm just going to show you the stats at Cbus Super Stadium. Now, we have a very good record there. 17 matches have been played at Cbus Super Stadium. We hold a 9-8 advantage, but for many years, that advantage was much greater. In the recent years, the Titans have have won a few home games against us, but we had a 7-game win streak. We always seem to play well there, no matter how we're traveling. So, like it's a great place to play footy. It's a great place to watch footy. It's always not a fast track there. So, really looking forward to this game, and we'll take a look at the team that Webby has named for the game at Seabus Super Stadium, 3:00 p.m. local kickoff. And for our Warriors, we got Chance Nickel-Kluckster at the back. Ed Cozy comes into the wing with Marcelo Montoya. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck returns from injury in the centres to partner Adam Pompey, who was under a bit of an injury concern, but I believe he's good to go. Halves, Temare Martin and Sean Johnson. And the forwards, Aden Fanua-Blake and Jacko Ford back at prop. Wade Egan at hooker, Morata Niokore, and Dylan Walker, bit of a surprise, being named on the edge there. Tohu Harris in the starting lineup. And then we have Chanel Harris-Tavita, Jacob Laban, Jastavanga, and Tom Ale rounding out the bench. The extended bench, we have Bunty Afoa, Tain Tuapiki, Mwala Graham Tofa, Freddie Lussick, and Dimitri Sifakula. So for me, probably the biggest surprise in all of that was Dylan Walker named to play on an edge. Do you think we are going to lose a bit of his impact with him playing in that position rather than in the middle or coming off the bench? Or do you see any shuffling going on?
Looking at our bench, the only shuffling I could imagine would be maybe Walker going back to the bench and Laban starting, or Ford moving back to the edge and Ale starting. And because I do think we lose a little bit for two reasons. We lose that impact and that energy that Dylan Walker brings when he does come off the bench. Although we haven't had that the last couple of weeks because he has started, but he has started in the middle where he's able to play both sides of the ruck. He's been first receiver and really had a lot of impact on the game. I think parking him on an edge, we lose the best of Dylan Walker. So, I don't know. I again, I'm not one to second guess Webby because, and I know it's been spoken about on other channels, but it's something that we spoke about in a private, our group chat last week. I wouldn't have had Ed Cossey come in on the wing either. I would have moved Roger to the wing, Shantz to the centres, and what have brought Tain Tuapiki in at fullback. Every game Tain Tuapiki's played this year, he's been outstanding. And let's think about the only reason he's out of first grade was Chance came back from injury, and then he was supposed to play the other week, and his partner had a baby.
Yeah, birth of his child.
So but again, I'm not going to second guess Webby. I just think that's interesting selections. We'll probably see a little bit closer to the event of the game if there is going to be any changes. But interesting one for me. I think we're really going to miss Mitch Barnett. I know that much.
Big time,
And the fact that David Fafita's back for the Titans on an edge this week too. He didn't play last week, and I was kind of hoping he'd get picked in Origin. So them not picking David Fafita in Origin, meaning he's going to play against us. And then the other danger for us too is Jaden Campbell always plays well against us.
Something like 6 tries in 4 games against us, or something like that.
Yeah, and
I'm worried about their speed.
He's going to get his hands on the ball a lot more. I'm worried about their speed too. They do have some speed in Cam Pereira and
Keanu Kenny can move. Yep.
Keanu Kenny, Jojo Fafita.
Filthy Phil Sami.
Filthy Phil, and Brian Kelly as well. So they've got some talent in that side, mate. They've got some real talent in that side, and we saw what happened last time we played the Titans, which was a home game, our first Anzac Day game at home for a long, long time. The Titans hadn't won a game coming to New Zealand, playing against us at home, and they got us. This is by no means in the bag or a walkover or anything like that.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm still having nightmares about us being camped on the Titans line for like that last 15 minutes of that Anzac Day game and just couldn't score. And it was just one of the most frustrating things I've ever watched. It really was.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's we need to be a lot better this week though. Last week we were just we were good, as I said, we were good for 20 minutes, but then everything fell away. We need to, have the foot on the gas for the whole 80 minutes this time. Our back three, we need to utilise them to get our set starts, particularly seeing Ko Montoya. I'm worried about Ed Cozzy because Ed Cozzy, the couple of games he's played this year, his first touch has been an error, and I'm not Cozzy bagging. We love Ed, but
we love him. Yeah,
but his appearances this season have been underwhelming. We spoke about our halves in the last game. Tamati Martin stepped up in Sean Johnson's absence, but last week it was as if both the halves didn't want to step on the other one's toes, and they kind of both took a back seat. One of them needs to take control of this game, and it needs to be Sean. RTS back to partner Adam Pompey in the centres. He needs to find that form that he had at the beginning of the season. In the couple of games just before we lost him to injury, there was some very uncharacteristic brain explosion mistakes from Roger. And I don't know if it's because he was used to not playing long minutes in Union and back playing, full 80 minutes in rugby league. And he was having a lot of runs. He was getting a lot of run meters, and he was having to defend a lot more than he would have had to because. So, Ford in the middle's been awesome for us. Although this week I'd much rather see him move back to an edge and play Dylan Walker in the middle and with Tohu Harrison.
Shift Tohu to prop, Dylan Walker. To lock. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So what are you leaning towards results wise?
Oh mate, I can't tip against the Warriors. I think like last week against the Storm, I think was I don't know. Did I tip the Warriors last week? I think I did. I don't think I've tipped against us. I don't think I've tipped against. I did tip against us, Penrith, and then we won that one. So maybe I should tip against us. Yeah, I don't know. Mate, look, I'll put it this way. I'm jumping in a car tonight, and I'm driving up to the Gold Coast to come and watch the boys play and attend a pre-game and a post-game event. So I'm hoping for a fucking Warriors victory. So I'm going to say Warriors victory. I'll say 8. Warriors by 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Warriors by 8.
I'm going to say Warriors by 4. A very nervous 4-point victory.
A nervous 4-point victory that we'll be watching in the stadium.
We will be. The concrete under where I'm sitting will be well worn out.
Yeah.
Yes. But it does. I don't care how it happens, just as long as we get the win. Hey.
Yep. Yeah. 100%. 100%. And as you said earlier, there is a pre-game and a post-game function. The pre-game function hosted by Warrior Nation and ourselves, Ruin Hammer, at the Sporting Globe in Robina. That will kick off at 11:30 a.m. Don't have to be a Warriors member to get into that one. That's open to everyone. The One New Zealand Warriors have kindly donated money towards food, so there is going to be some food at that event, finger food that will be going around.
Yep.
Drinks, it will be a pay-as-you-go. There will be some beer packages or something that we have been told.
There will be some deals, I think.
Yeah, beer deals, or drink deals, but it's pay for your own drinks type of thing. That will happen at the Sporting Globe from 11:30 until approximately 2:30 maybe, where we'll do the trek from the Sporting Globe up to the stadium, watch the game, and then after the game there is a post-game event which is hosted by the One New Zealand Warriors, similar to the event that we had last year, which will be downstairs at the stadium. It is a members-only ticketed event.
Yeah.
And that has been exhausted. So if you haven't got tickets for that now, you won't be able to go. Unfortunately, it is limited numbers for that event, and that will be happening after the game at Seabus Super Stadium. But really looking forward to it. It was a wonderful event last year. Thank you so much to the One New Zealand Warriors for doing this again on the Gold Coast, and for all the Sydney fans, there is one coming up in a couple of weeks when we play the Bulldogs at Accor Stadium. Similar thing will be happening there with a pre-game event hosted by Warrior Nation and Ruin Hammer at the locker room, and then a post-game event, which I think is going to be at the Novotel after the game. But we'll give you more details about that one. But this week, if you're on the Gold Coast, you're going to the game, you've got tickets to the game, and you haven't been able to get any tickets to the post-game function, please come along to the pre-game function at the Sporting Globe at 11:30 a.m.
Buzzman is going to be there, so make sure you come and say hi to us. Always good to put a face to the name.
It was a great event last year. I think we had no less than 6 ex-Warriors players there. Jerry CU was there.
Michael Witt sat behind us.
Michael Witt,
game.
Michael Witt. Nathan Friend was there.
Clinton
Torpy, Tukes, Campo, as always.
I'll be there no, Tukes won't be. Tukes is traveling around Europe, but I'm sure Campo will be there. I'll be shocked if he's not.
And we haven't heard any official attendances of any ex-Warriors players at the event, but you can be sure that the Warriors would have reached out to a lot of those boys that are based in southeast Queensland. So there is a good chance that those guys will be there. Great photo opportunity, great chat with some of our ex-players, and then obviously the post-game function meeting all the current Warriors stars. It's always a good one. They're always so giving of their time, the Waz boys.
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you take us through the first game of round 16.
I will, mate. Round 16, which kicks off tomorrow night, Friday night. The Dolphins versus Storm at Suncorp Stadium. For the Dolphins, Trey Fuller's back at fullback for the Hammer, who is away on Origin duty. Jesse Bromwich returns in the front row to partner his brother Kenny. So the Bigfoot brothers, Bigfoot and Baby Bigfoot, in the front row there for the Dolphins. Tavita Pangai Jr. Named to make his Dolphins debut coming off the bench in place of Felice Kafusi, who is away on Origin.
Hang on, wasn't he done? Didn't he say, I'm done?
He was done until he hosted a boxing event, got knocked out in the first round in his own boxing event.
It's funny that when that happens, when someone says I'm done, and then they're right back in it like a year later. Yeah,
absolutely. Does he end up at the Rabbits next year? Is that what happens? Is he going to follow Wayne? For the Storm, big news for the Storm. Ryan Pappenhausen is named to make his return at fullback. Sia Fololongo moves to the wing for Xavier Coates. Bronson Garlick named at hooker for Harry Grant. Remus Smith is named on the extended bench. Could be a late inclusion at the expense of Grant Anderson in the centres. For me, mate, I'm going to pick the Storm with the return of Ryan Pappenhausen and no Hammer for the Dolphins. I'm going to pick the Storm in by about 10, I'd say.
Yeah, I think the Storm will be too good by 14. Yep. All right, Saturday, Titans versus Warriors at Cbus Super Stadium. As we said, the Titans, Keenan Palacia in the front row for Mo Fodawaker. David Fafita returns from injury in the back row. Ken Mamalo, that's right, he was named on the extended bench. So there you go. And Ed Cozzi for the Warriors. Ed Cozzi named on the wing for suspended Dallin. RTS returns in the centres for Rocco Berry. Dylan Walker named on the edge for Mitch Barnett on Origin duty. Jacob Laban named on the bench. Kurt Capewell on Origin duty also. And as we've said, you've gone Warriors by 8. I've gone Warriors by 4. Yep. Second game of your Super Saturday is the Roosters versus the Bulldogs at Allianz Stadium. The Roosters, Dom Young is back. Brandon Smith named at hooker with Connor Watson in Origin. Terrell May and JWH named to start with Lindsay Collins and Spencer Lenu. They're both in Origin camp. Nat Butcher named on an edge for Angus Crichton. And Siwa Wong named on the bench for the Bulldogs. Jared Skelton named on the wing with Jacob Carraz moving to the centres for Stephen Crichton. Josh Curran named in the back row. Bailey Howard at lock. I'm going to go the Roosters in a close one here. Roosters by 6.
Yeah, I'm going to go I think the Roosters class in their back line will get them home. I'll go the Roosters by 8.
Yeah. And rounding out your Super Saturdays, the Rabbits versus Sea Eagles at Accor Stadium. For the Rabbits, Jai Grant is at fullback for Latrell. Cam Murray on Origin duty. Liam LeBlanc, son of Matt LeBlanc, I'm assuming, is the new name on the bench.
Oh, does that mean all his friends are going to be at the game?
Hey, how you doing?
How you doing? Yeah.
Aaron, and for the Sea Eagles, Aaron Shop named in the centres for Ruben Garrick. Carl Lawton named at halfback for DCE. Sorry, I had to read that twice.
Yeah.
Corey Waddell named on the edge for Hamali Ola Kalatu, and Caleb Navali and Atasi James.
James, yeah.
Itasi James. Sorry if I got that wrong. Named on the bench. I think this is a tough one to pick. Both players have key members of their side missing. I'm going to pick the Rabbitohs in a real close one. Rabbitohs by 1. I think this will be a close game. Both sides missing key players. I think it'll be a fairly even contest.
I'm going to pick the Rabbitohs by 14, I reckon. It'll be 13 plus. No DCE. Okay. That's a massive one for the Sea Eagles. No Olakuatu, no Ruben Garrick, so they've lost their goal kicker. And, Rabbitohs with Whiten and Walker in the halves have really hit a bit of form at the moment. They'll go 4 in a row, the Rabbitohs, for me.
Okay.
And then only the one game on Sunday. And what a thriller this will be. It is the Tigers, again, on free-to-air TV, up against the Raiders at Campbelltown Stadium. Can the Tigers win 2 in a row? I say no. For the Tigers, Lachlan Galvin returns in the halves with Aiden Seether moving to halfback. Api Coruscant moved from the halves into his usual spot at hooker. Kit Lilly named on the bench for the Raiders. No changes to their 13. Only Zach Wolford onto the bench for Tom Starling in their 17. Like I said, I'm going to go the Raiders. I think Ricky will have they're not affected by Origin at all. Neither are the Tigers, but I'm going to think the Raiders, and I'll say the Raiders 13 plus. And I don't know if Rob's crashed or if I've crashed. I'm thinking it might be Robbie. So we'll move on. The Knights, the Broncos, the Cowboys, Panthers, Dragons, Sharks, and Eels all have the bye. So that rounds out round 16 for this week, and that's the round previewed. Next week, Ruin Hammer will be back at the same time, 6:30 on Thursday evening, where we will be reviewing this round 16 game against the Titans and discussing the pre-game and post-game fan events that we have that we've been co-hosting with Warrior Nation, and we'll preview our round 17 home game against the Broncos. Before we do wrap it up for the night, again, just want to thank and acknowledge our wonderful supporters. Are you there, mate?
I think I'm here. That must have been me then.
Yeah, it was you. You did drop out. And on my screen, I can still see 2 of you. I can see you frozen. I can see you not frozen. So there you go. That's it. That's gone.
Always with the live show, isn't it? Yeah, sorry about that, folks.
That's all right, mate. I was just wrapping up before we wrap it up for the night. Again, just want to acknowledge and thank our wonderful supporters, especially our Patreon supporters, for their continued support, and give a special shout out to our gold tier Patreons, Alf, Malcolm, Chris, Nigel, Lisa Marie, Sean, Ken, and Stevie. Thank you all so much. Mate, how else can they show their support?
Yeah, well, you can jump onto Patreon and you can take up a $3 Patreon membership for less than the cost of a cup of coffee per month, and you can show your support by making a donation and it goes a long way to supporting what we do here on Ruin Hammer. It's greatly appreciated. If merchandise is your thing, then we have bronze, gold, and platinum tier memberships as well. So you can also get yourself some Ruin Hammer merchandise as well as supporting us. And if you just want to grab the merchandise, make sure you head on to our Redbubble store. The link is on the screen there. You can go in there and grab a design like a Up the Waz shirt. We got several different Up the Waz designs now, so go and check those out. There's a brand new one up there now. We got a Dylan Walker shirt. We got a Mitch Barnett shirt. We got an Egan RTS. We can do anything. So if you guys have any requests, then let us know. But you can go and jump on there and grab yourself some Ruin Hammer merchandise. And a small percentage of that does come back to us and helps us to bring you the content that you do enjoy. And we really appreciate all you guys on Patreon and all you guys who have bought merchandise. It really means a lot to us.
Absolutely, it does. On that note, that's it for tonight's show. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you all for continuing to support Ruin Hammer. It's very much appreciated. If you're not going to be at the game this week, we will see you next Wednesday night here on YouTube and Facebook. But if you're on the Gold Coast,
Thursday night.
Thursday, that's
Yep.
right. But if you are on the Gold Coast, make sure you get along to the game. If you get to either of the functions or the game and you spot Rob and I there, come up and say hello. Let us know who you are. It's always great to meet the people that watch and enjoy what we do. Mate, I'll be seeing you Saturday morning.
Yep.
Look forward to it.
Bright and early on Saturday.
Absolutely. Yep. Thanks, everyone. Stay safe and up the wires.
Up the wires. Take care, everyone.